in your own words, a piecewise function. How about something like this, maybe? 2 or more graphs together. Okay, but to be a function, it obviously has to pass the vertical line test, or every x has to have exactly one y, right? Now, a step function, we're not going to talk about a step function. We don't need to worry about that yet. Okay, we'll talk about that later, okay? So let's slide up, okay? Piecewise function. So a piecewise function is defined by 2 or more equations. Each piece of the function applies to different parts of its domain. Domain is like what x values it can have, right? As an example, okay, so we have, let's check it out. Less than 0, okay? So what part of this graph is less than or equal to 0? It's this part right here, because if x, here's my x-axis, right? My x-axis. Here's 0. I want you to watch this. Here's 0, my x-axis. Everything less than 0 would be in this region, and that's that graph right there, isn't it? Now, sure enough, start at -2. If I had to graph this, I'd start at -2. I think about this. If I had to graph this one right here, I'd start at -2, right? And I'd go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. But I don't really want all of the graph, right? So the whole line goes like this. Nick, are you with me? The whole line goes like this, except for I only want the back half.
Oh.
So I don't have this. And what makes this little equal sign?
Yeah.
Add 0. Equal sign, add 0. Solid dot at 0. Equal sign, add 0. Solid dot. Now look at this one. No
Without
equal sign. So at 0,
It
open.
just stops there.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's open, it's no equal sign until add 0, it's open, okay? And sure enough, this is greater than 0, right? Greater than 0.
Yeah.
So if you started at 1, you go up 2 over 1, 2 over. Now the whole graph really would go like this, right? Except for, we don't want this back half, we only want the part, here's x, there, only want that part. X is 0, we don't want that part at all, okay? Does that make sense? You have to have an open circle either here or here because you can't have 2 dots in the same place,
So
2
it
different
would-
y values, right?
It would cross at 2, 0.
Cross it 2, 0, yeah, it would. If we let it keep going, it would, yes. Price, question.
So all that equals sign means is that it is counted.
If it's counted, yes. Yes, well said, if it's counted, okay? So, x minus 1 represents the value of x when x is less than or equal to 0. That's that part, right? And then different color. Okay, this part right here is this graph right here when it is greater than 0, but not equal to. Greater than 0, but not equal to. So it never equals 0 here because we didn't allow it to equal 0. It can't. It can't equal 0 because you can't have it counted twice, right? If you count it twice, then you've got 2 y values. It's like going and buying a latte at the latte store and getting 2 prices for 1 latte, right? It won't work. Okay, turn the page. Now, here it is. Now, this is technically a step function. Looks like steps, doesn't it? Okay. And back under the old telephone plans, a long, long time ago, they'd charge you by the minute. Okay. You'd have a rate per minute. So if you talk for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 15 seconds, 12 seconds, it'd be the same price, right? Then you jump up. Talk for a minute and a half, a minute 30, a minute 15, it'd be the same price. So you jump up. You talk for 2 minutes and a half, 2 minutes 15, 2 minutes 12, 2 minutes 05, 2 minutes 49 seconds, be the same price. This is called a step function. Yes, price.
What if you talk for less than her?
You'd always have a pickup charge. Yeah, always have a pickup charge. Yeah, no, it's always it's like usually a step function would be so much per minute plus. Okay, price. The way it used to be is so much per minute plus your initial fee, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's describe it. So right off the bat, is this a function? Yes, of course. Now, yes. Now the big key I want to do is I'm going to again circle the weird spots. This is a weird spot. This is a weird spot. This is a weird spot. So if it was a telephone plan, they would say as soon as you hit, in fact, let's hit this one. As soon as you hit 3 minutes, the moment you hit 3 minutes, you'd be charged more. Does that make sense? At 3 minutes, you wouldn't be charged this 3 minutes, you'd be charged that price at 3 minutes. Does that make sense? And that makes sense for a phone because at 3 minutes, are you going to be charged this price or this price? You wouldn't be charged both prices, would you? You'd be charged one price or the other, but you wouldn't be getting a bill for two. It's like
But
you're
they
talking.
charge the higher.
Always, right? Yeah. And that's why you see the solid dot on the higher, don't you? Okay? So describe. So let's see. We've got between -3 and -6. See, -3 and -6. Okay. That's from there, right? So from -3 to -6, I have this equation, right? From -3 to -6, I have this equation, okay? What's the equation of that line? It's y equals -2, isn't it? Isn't that y equals -2? Or f of x and y mean the same thing, don't they? Right? So y equals 2. Right. Yes, it is -2. Perfect. So between -3 and 0, that's from here to here, -3 to 0 is this graph, right? Between -3 and 0 is this graph. What's the equation of that line? Y equals 0. Very good. Y equals 0. Yes. Okay. Between 0 and 3. Between 0 and 3 is, yes, is positive 2, right? That equation right there is 2, right? And between 3 and 6, would be y equals 4, okay? So, in order to make that graph, you needed 4 different equations because you got 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, right? You got 4 lines, so it took 4 equations, but you had to tell us where to draw that line. Draw this line between -6 and -3. Draw this line between -3 and 0. Draw this line between 0 and 3. Draw this line between 3 and 6. Thumbs up? Thumbs sideways? Okay, so far so good. You're doing a great job because this can be really difficult if you're not paying attention.
But we're a smart person.
You are. Okay, now, here's an absolute value graph, right? Okay, here's an absolute value graph, okay? So, first of all, we could describe this as an absolute value. We can say, okay, well, I know, I learned this yesterday. We can say f of x or y equals the absolute value of x, right? That's what we learned yesterday, okay? Easy, right? However, we could describe it as a piecewise graph. We could. We could say, okay, well, let's use 2 equations. Well, one equation, let's do it step by step. Well, because you're going to have to on your quiz. Sorry. Okay. So this equation in yellow. What's the equation of this line? Let's see. It goes up 1 over 1 up. Y equals x, right? Or 1 over 1 x plus 0. You agree with that?
Yeah.
Celeste?
Yeah, this is probably stupid, but the other line on the left, yeah, why is that absolute?
Oh, that's what we learned yesterday, okay? So if you plug in -2, what's the absolute value of -2? It's positive 2, right? That's why it goes up. Good question. Okay, now, so now tell me about this graph. This graph does not exist back here, does it? It only exists from 0 forward. So this graph is x is greater than 0 or equal to. You want this to be equal?
Yeah.
Now listen carefully. If you make it equal to 0, then this graph can't be equal to 0, right? If this graph gets to 0, if the yellow graph gets the point, then the orange graph can't get the point because you can't give the point to both graphs. Wouldn't be a function, okay? So, we have one graph, y equals x. How about this orange graph? What's the equation of this orange graph? Y equals -x. Down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, plus 0, right? But just less than 0, no equal, because, you know why?
I did it the other way.
Right, okay, either way, and they're both correct. If you put the equal here and not here, you're right.
Yeah, I did that.
Perfect, nice job, Landon. You just can't put it on both, right? Just can't put it on both. Okay, so then if we're going to rewrite a function, f of x, because it is a function now, isn't it? It is a function. We'll put in our 2 equations, okay? f of x equals a -x if x is less than 0. F of x is equal to x if x is greater than or equal to 0. And like Landon did, he put the equal here and not here, and that's fine. You can only count it once, not twice. Okay? All right. Now, I got a little homework for you. I'll call it